It's time for Series 3 of the day. Psygib going head-to-head with Xron. You're currently watching Week 7 of the Quake Pro League, and welcome back. It's been a great day so far, and no doubt the GGs will keep on rolling. This one in particular, I think two players that are almost kind of in that middle ground right now, and obviously we'll bring up results and we'll kind of see how people are currently shaping up, but I think this should be an interesting matchup with two of these players that would definitely appreciate getting some kind of upper hand, right?
Yeah, totally agree. It's been a rough road for them, don't get me wrong. The map scores, the series wins definitely don't reflect how they've been performing so far, as they've had a lot of close shaves, a lot of close maps against a lot of these players. Like, for example, the fact that Xron is going 0-6 and going 1-17 in maps, it doesn't feel like that. I don't know if it's the same for anyone else, but I do feel like he should have quite a lot of maps underneath his belt considering what we've seen so far. But going back to context though for these two players, you've got to remember that they're both very low on the leaderboard, and this is a very important win for both these players. Not just a series win, but just even maybe having the opportunity to try and 3-0 each other, just to try and claw back as much points as possible. We know that slowly over time, for these two players to get into the top 8 is going to be at the realms of impossibility. But for now, though, they need to try and get the best seeding possible going into QuakeCon as well. So for them here, it's very important to keep that in mind, especially because there could be a good chance at this stage these two players will be in the day 1 of groups, rather than being able to get the advantage to start in day 2. And as you can see from the leaderboard, of course, Strong Sage is at the bottom because still catching up on his schedule of the matches. But you see there's psygib and Xron, not really too much difference in terms of map scorelines. So we should be in for a close affair anyway, Ryan.
It's one of the things that makes this match one of the more sort of interesting ones, just because of what it can mean for both of them. Being able to get any kind of successful result here, and I mean, I'm talking not even 2-1s, I'm talking a potential 3-0 on either side. It's a nice little injection of points that they otherwise might not be able to get. And I don't want to come across as almost disrespectful and anything like that, because the reality is everyone in Pro League has worked to the bone to be here. So this is one of those instances where this is just where they are on the leaderboard. They're evenly matched in regards to what their scores are. Obviously, we can see here psygib was able to get a 2-1 versus Sib. However, a really good result here would be most appreciated. How it's going to go, I really am not sure, because they're not players that we get to see go head-to-head really that much at all. So there's definitely that dynamic which might change things and spice things up a little bit. I think the picks and bans will kind of reflect that, perhaps. I think we hopefully have a lot to talk about with these, because Corrupted Keep, a standard start. Ruins of Sarnath, another one where we have the Nyx versus the Visor, two characters that we see picked quite commonly on there, with Awoken as that final destination. And the bans, things that are all expected. The Anarchy's been taken away, especially with some of these maps that we have. That does kind of make sense. The Athena being taken away from psygib, that can sometimes be considered perhaps maybe a bit of a personal ban, because we know that he does like to use that champion. And then Awoken, just taking the Doomslayer out of the equation, really. If there is a lot of mobility that otherwise would have been powerful on Awoken already picked on other maps, then we kind of want to keep things as grounded as possible. So if we can take away that double jump, that's certainly better than nothing.
Yeah, just looking into this, of course, Corrupted Keep, champion picks, very standard. Anarchy ban, totally understandable. Ruins is quite interesting. I know that, of course, the Athena's been banned, not just for Ruins, but of course for Awoken, just to try and avoid any kind of conflict there going to that final map. Visor Nyx, very old school matchup there. Slash is still available, mind you, and could have been made available, but it's possible that he used the Visor knowing that psygib would probably select Nyx if he assumed he went for the Slash, or the fact that, we've seen, rarely at times the Visor used on Awoken as well. But I think that might have been more of the reason why. Maybe he decided to go for the Visor pick because it may be a bit more beneficial for the Nyx, of course, with the piercing sight. And even though the Slash is very, very good on Runes, and also extremely good on a couple of other maps as well. It's interesting that was not selected, but maybe he just wants an extra element of caution, just wants to play more of that information play and just go for the Visor instead. So that's totally understandable. And yeah, going into Awoken, having the Eisen come up though is going to be very interesting in itself. And I think this is going to be very close, and I do believe that both these players do require that 3-0 on each other. It probably will be a 2-1, and the fact that I want to add as well that Corrupted Keep also slipping in is a big talking point as well, because it has been statistically one of the strongest maps for psygib so far. He's either defeated 1 or 2 players on this map, or against somebody, you know, in terms of the higher echelon of the Quake Pro League, in terms of standings, he's actually had extremely close score lines on Corrupted Keep, and since some of the big names as well. So for Xron here, I'll be interested to see exactly how he goes about playing on Corrupted Keep against psygib. So we'll have to see how that goes.
I was honestly going to mention the same thing. We're kind of looking at the picks and bans. The map is possibly the more substantial one here because, as you said, it's a map that psygib has always been really strong on. And having that be our first stop here, definitely a talking point. Both of these players are now readying up, so we'll be jumping into Corrupted Keep pretty much as soon as we can. The map's getting loaded into right now, so won't have to wait too long. But at the same time, I think Awoken being the final map is in a similar vein to that, but maybe not as extreme for psygib. If there's one thing psygib is always absolutely fantastic at, it's just the combat component of this game, and he's always been really good at that. With champion picks on those maps that can work exceptionally well. Not only is it Corrupted Keep here for psygib, but he has the Ranger as well. So that's an extra element that I really think favors him. And as difficult as I think predictions are to make for a matchup like this, I'm kind of curious to actually see what the people at home think. No doubt people will be talking about it in chat, as they always do.
Absolutely.
The picks and bans have favored psygib a lot more. Just having the Awoken and having the Corrupted Keep alone really makes me feel like this could be a series that psygib can take. I'd love to see Xron prove me wrong. You know, we've been commentating Xron since the very beginning of this game, right? He's one of the original players that was right up there as a hungry competitor that was highly successful. Haven't really seen as much of that in this series. But with this, we'll see if it's going to change. Now, checking things out from Xron's point of view first. The fight in the middle, I would say already breaking out, but the orb to get to a much safer place already thrown out there. The items have been taken at pretty much the exact same time as well. And the game of denial begins. The LG currently not in the hand of psygib. Neither is a heavy machine gun, actually. So we're going to disengage just a little bit. Psygib did use his orb nice and early, so with the plethora of hourglasses left on the map, he's going to have that back pretty much right now. And there should now be a delay between these two items. psygib wanted to see the Mega get taken first, and even so, has waited. He has purposefully put a delay between these now, so whoever scores that first blood, if it happens at a good opportunity, this could be where the snowball begins.
You're not wrong there, as Xron just doing a good job just keeping his distance, using that heavy machine gun as well. It's full use, and it's going to give him that slight stack advantage as well. Even if he's down below, he's going to be careful with that rocket damage there. Good direct though from Xron. He's done some additional damage as well. Just trying to circle around, get positional advantage for this heavy, and using the LG just to basically let psygib know that he's in position, he's lurking, he's ready for that heavy. Basically, just try and come at me if you can. And it's been a while since we've seen that Shambler's arm as well as for the LG, but psygib does come out on top. Extremely weak though, could be traded, but as you can see, heavy's not going out for quite a while, so just using that recovery path to try and get back to that default stack.
No, it wasn't the worst outcome in the world. Xron had decided to play it completely safe and take the item instead, and in doing so, let psygib kind of get himself back up to a normal stack. Now, these defensive rockets have been really good, enough so that Xron can't confidently push forward. And this next objective, Mega in play, goes in for an aggressive orb that hasn't really worked out all that well. Xron picks up a frag now, ties things up 1-1, with the Mega being taken as that final little reward for that. Wow, the defensive rocket jump! I do not think Xron was expecting that. I do not think he was ready for that angle, because psygib just comes flying up there. And before you know it, with very little damage taken, psygib takes another frag.
Yeah, it was quite weird, that rocket jump as well as them engaged, but if it's super weak, the orb is gonna do him a big favour then and getting him his third frag. But yeah, that rocket jump, it seemed like he jumped up very slowly. I don't know if it fell off a Quron, but it kind of threw me off a little bit of how slow he was
saw
actually.
it in slow motion,
it's like,
perhaps.
it's like lack of gravity or something like that. It was a little bit strange. I don't know if that threw him off, but good heavy machine gun damage though from psygib, and still cleans him out 4-1. 3 minutes in, that Mega's coming up in the next 7 seconds, Ryan. Oh, good direct rocket and the peeker. Fantastic play.
Oh, that direct rocket was the last thing Ron wanted to deal with right there. Pushing forward with the SSG. I mean, that's the only weapon you're going to have off that spawn. And choosing to go in that way, I mean, quite rightly called out there from psygib. But this is kind of what we were talking about, right? This map is a map that psygib is well seasoned in and has had some good results in the past. And the second we saw it make its way in first, you kind of looked at it thinking, right, is psygib gonna have the advantage here? Not just the fact that it's corrupted keep, but clearly his use of the orb as well. It's just made it a difficult position here for Xron. They trade, but the question is who's going to get the right spawn? In this case, looks like it will be Xron picking up the heavy, spawning closer to it, but didn't spawn near any weapons. So is that heavy going to mean anything? The answer is no.
I like that as well from psygib, just be using Ranger's passive with these rocket jumps just to give himself the extra mobility to try and continue to apply a lot of pressure and suffocate Xron there. He's now just going to be ching a little bit, picks up the light, does make that rotation, has a heavy machine gun, still needs to get the LG in Tri-Bout to give him a little bit of a helping hand later, but it looks like it seems to be okay for now. Just looking to try and get away. Good direct, and psygib has been, we're talking about directs from Awoken earlier on, Ryan, but I'm sure you probably witnessed psygib's directs on Corrupted Keep the last few weeks. He's been an absolute animal, probably taking Garpy's Rocket Man name, probably.
I think at the same time, too, psygib was happy to play it safe. The next item, although probably not expecting Xron to come flying around that corner, was happy to listen for the item being picked up, right? Got himself timing, I'm sure it was Mega, and just kind of gave him what he needed. He was able to disengage, get himself back up to a stack. That's where the direct happened. More of these rockets, and even then, ooh, delicious stuff. Self-rocket boost just to fly around that corner, set yourself up for a nice orb angle, and a chase being made by Xron. So much damage was dealt just to pick that up and make chase. Is it going to be worth it? Oh, the rockets, come on! psygib, dude, you're looking into a crystal ball. How do you know? Every time.
Yeah, psygib just continuing his path of destruction here, but this is what I mean. Like, I'm surprised Corrupted Keep was able to slip into this series. psygib does clean up Xron once again. It is on 3 HP, but just needs to try and get himself fully recovered, at least back to his default stack before he makes an engagement onto the heavy. Good direct, second direct, third direct, Ryan.
Ooh,
Jesus
baby,
Christ.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you kind of just set it up for it, right? You always mentioned psygib and the rockets that he's been able to hit the last few weeks. We're getting a perfect example of that right now. And I think, yeah, eventually Peak is going to have a somewhat of a last laugh, but look at the difference in scoreline. psygib 10 frags ahead. Rockets just refuse to miss, and here comes another one. One for the road. But this map has kind of gone down the way a lot of us were expecting. This is one of psygib's strongest maps, if not his strongest, from what we've seen over the weeks. It made it through the picks and bans, and we're starting to see the consequences of that. As they say, what happens on this map often stays here. There is no other map that plays like it. So even though this is a rough affair for Xron, psygib 11 frags in the lead now and looking to just extend things even further. I'm looking at a rocket, I'm looking at an orb. That direct probably gave him more information, but who cares? The confidence of psygib to know that I don't need to use this orb yet, because my regular rockets will do the job. An aggressive push, punished, and that is why he saved the orb.
And this is why you don't play psygib on CK. This is a very good example. If you like being directed about 20 times throughout a 10-minute matchup, then of course, yeah, play against him on it. Feel free. It's going into the red room now. Done a lot of damage, but yeah, psygib's still able to clean that up. Heavy in 5, 2 minutes 10 in. Damage has already been done here, Ryan. It's going to be 2 minutes left to find 13 frags. Not going to happen. psygib is going to take this quite comfortably.
Another one of those situations where all that's left to talk about is how things unfolded, and as we prepare now going into map 2. Corrupted Keep is this kind of map. It can snowball heavily, especially if you are so talented with the combat and champions that can simply exaggerate that even further. Ranger being a super popular pick on this map does not surprise me. And you just look at someone like psygib, who you give him a map like this and he's going to make magic things happen. And sometimes those magic things are disgustingly good direct rockets, apparently. But in Bron's position, there's not a huge amount to reflect on, because it is a true unique experience when you play on a map like this. So all that's left to do now is to kind of think hard and heavy about the other two. They're going to just natively play different. So if there's anything that Xron was able to do here that spelled good things, then maybe try and repeat that a little bit in the other two maps. We haven't seen a rail yet. Perhaps Xron is going to be having a phenomenal day on the old rail gun. That might change things a little bit, but who knows? Clutching at straws, perhaps, I suppose, but we will have no choice but to see. It's 50 seconds left on the clock. This map's going to come to a close. psygib maybe going to try and drop 20 if he's able to. There's the rocket jump. Ooh, oh, so much of it. Missed that one, obviously, watching things from Xron's point of view, but the rocket jumps have actually been a pretty impressive thing, all things considered here. Just really putting that Ranger passive to good use.
So I was just looking at the stats. Like, normally on CK, we see an average of what, like 1,500 to 3,500 damage with the LG. psygib, over 3,000 damage with the rockets.
As you
That's
do.
unreal.
As you do. That's not even factoring in the damage that the orbs have no doubt done. That is a GG for map number 1. Now, Xron, yeah, he was able to get a few frags near the end, but it's kind of hard to say whether they meant anything, because this is just that famous classic end of a map where both players kind of know that the job is done, so everything after that's just not really that monumental. Frags that happen there are kind of up in the air. Sometimes players will kind of just go through the paces near the end of the map. They'll just start flying around. Maybe they'll try and go for some, highlight reel moments, perhaps, but the fate was sealed long before that map came to a close, and such a massive part of that was just the raw damage and the ability to just fight. And how many incredible rockets was psygib able to cement there. Not only that, but moments when he was able to swap to shotgun, get some last minute damage, the orb placement, just so many fights where you feel like he's done deal. That was probably, for me, the more impressive at the beginning, because that surprise attack, I don't think anyone was ready for that rocket jump angle. And, I mean, look at it. We went a couple of frags down, and then you're looking at it, psygib was 10-2 or something in really only a couple of minutes, and that's just got Corrupted Keep written all over it.
Yeah, it certainly does. It was just unbelievable. I'm assuming 2 of those kills are going to be at least in that top 10, especially those 3 directs, which it shocked me a little bit, but at the same time it was like, well, it shouldn't really surprise me at this point, considering how much we've seen psygib do it consistently on CK alone. But for Xron, no, he's got a bit of a drawing board to work his way up on. Of course, losing that first map 19-10, but still got 2 more maps to try and wiggle his way back from and try and create that reverse sweep if he can. Going into Ruins, a nice old school matchup here with the Visor versus the Nyx. I did point out that, of course, Xron made that Athena ban, most probably not for this map, but of course for Awoken, so he has a little less trouble with that mobility factor. Also, at the same time, that slash was available, but not going to be used here in Ruins. So, but it's like I said before, he wants to look for more of the information play, with knowing that psygib could really go for that Nyx, and it can cause Slash a few issues, even though she does have all the speed in the world. But yeah, it's not going to do much against that ghost work, of course. All about those hourglasses going into this one, Ryan. It should be definitely an interesting matchup in itself.
It will be, and it's a matchup that we've seen time and time again, and it feels like the usefulness of Visor has become increasingly more popular over the course of this season. I don't recall him being anywhere near used as much before, but over these last few weeks, he just becomes a bit more of an attractive option. I think that some of the maps might potentially bring that home. You know, we have got larger maps now. We have got maps that can be a bit more, not only rail heavy, you know, that's a bit more layer one when it comes to visors. Hey, you've got a rail gun, but the ability to get that, use that information to spring traps. And on larger maps, those traps are a bit harder to see coming. You haven't got as much audio information. There's a lot more, well, I haven't seen this person for a while, and there's a lot of potential places they could be. So we'll see how this one goes. Both players readied up now. The warm-up coming to a close here for Ruins of Sarnath. And like we said before, this map and the way it has to be played is so different to Corrupted Keep that we kind of just need to leave the keep where it was, because now we're going to get more of a clear idea of how this might go. Is the difference in map going to give Xron that upper hand that he needs?
We are going to be starting from Xron's perspective here. Well, the first time we've seen the Knicks play on Ruins today, but that was previously against the Slash. This is going to be against the Visor this time around, so an entirely different story. Piercing Sight comes out. Xron needs to be careful. He is available here, trying to get a couple of rockets in if he can. Psygib is on the chase. He's literally going to try and get him in with that last rail, but not going to happen. Of course, he isn't available anyway, as he's just barely able to recover and picks up the heavy and gets a rail of his own. Still both trying to engage, but the LG is looking strong here for psygib, and he's going to be able to pick up that first initial frag here, Ryan. Psygib, though, going into the courtyard to pick up that initial light, and is going to again pick up those hourglasses. Of course, both his players are going to be circulating for these hourglasses quite a lot over the course of this matchup. Of course, depending on how soon that Piercing Sight and Ghost Walker is going to be initiated. Psygib now in a better position in terms of grabbing this Mega. Of course, that T-junction could try to keep away from that choke point, but look at this though. Psygib comes in with that LG, but the rocket comes up from Xron, and that is going to be all tied up here, Ryan. Xron now does hit the first initial rail, 9 HP. Psygib comes out with a rail of his own, but has to back away once again. Only left on 26 HP, looking to try and recover as much as he physically can. Mega is up. Of course, Heavy was picked up 10 seconds ago. Good rail from Xron. Psygib has picked up the Mega and needs to go on the hunt for these lights if he can. Does have the Ghost Walk in his back pocket if he does need to use it to get away if he gets railed in that small engagement there around that T-junction. As Psygib has picked up the light, he can go for this Heavy if he wants, but the problem is he misses that first rail and needs to back away, and Psygib needs to be cautious here. If he gets trapped in this courtyard, not something he wants to try and deal with here. The problem is the stack from Xron is absolutely humongous here. 2.5 minutes in. Psygib still with that one frag lead, but it's all about that chip damage. He hasn't really got any rockets. Doesn't know how good his rocket players were back on Corrupted Keep, but Ryan, it's much closer from what we expected compared to what we saw in that first map.
It is, and that one rail on its own, potentially enough to give Psygib some form of a chance, understanding just how far behind he was. And it's not the kind of situation that a Ghost Walk would have been able to help him with either, because the Piercing Sight was locked and loaded. Now, thankfully for him, he did a lot of damage there, but it's not enough to stop Xron from making chase. Piercing Sight's not going to be available, so Psygib is going to be able to somewhat slip away, but he's nowhere near healthy enough to sit towards that Heavy, so he's going to have no choice but to concede it. And with the delay between these two items, might not be able to really fight towards Mega either. The second he heard that jump pad used, it's a very different story. Springs the attack there. Xron gets the frag. Yeah, he's weak, but who cares? There's a Mega just waiting up there to take, so that doesn't really mean anything for him. 2 rails. Ooh, the rail 1v1. Oh, Xron's the one that finds it. Yeah, that was potentially a bit of a pivotal 1v1 to take there. Xron in the lead still. The change of pace, and this has given Xron a very, very different kind of fighting chance. And this is why we were looking at Corrupted Keep and thinking, yeah, it was a really good map for psygib, but you know, we're only going to get that once. Oh, that rail, though. That rail was fantastic.
whipping out the LG once again. Ghost Walk. It's popped just in the nick of time, and it was perfect timing as well, because with Quran using that piercing sight, be a lot more effective and useful in comparison to before. Good last rocket with the 68. Both of them equally as weak as each other. Mega's up in 10. Quran's going to have a better position as he finds him. Let's go past that courtyard, and again, a great direct coming out from Quran. Mega's still up, mind you, and psygib not in position to grab it, as Quran will be able to grab this Mega and hopefully to continue the pressure onto psygib. Another great rail.
Right, there is that Ghost Walk almost immediately. Oh, hang on a minute, Ron. Now, Ron did decide not to use the piercing sight to counter that right there. I think if he was able to win that fight and maybe come off a little bit better, using it later would have been better off. Is able to take that fight regardless and still secure one here. And the important thing, maintaining that all-important high ground yet another time. Mega is going to go to Ron. With now heavy, that one... Oh, those rails to say, keep away from me, sir. We trade armor for armor. And in this kind of situation, psygib, there is a lot of work to do. A comeback that can definitely happen with the time that's left, but one that's going to be kind of tricky. You're dealing with someone that just has all this information. psygib actually sticking around on the point did really throw off the flow of combat there. The important thing is, though, can he get the final shot? Yes. And importantly, no damage was really taken while he was doing that. Kron getting a really good spawn with the LG, but not enough to finish the job. psygib now able to not only take a frag, but at the same time take away the heavy. Now, this is an important piercing sight. One that Kron... Oh, no! No, Harry, he had the information. He had the rail set up, but somehow didn't get the shot and took the damage himself. That's the worst thing that can happen.
Not wrong at all, and heavy is up in 10. Those two frags earlier on from psygib was crucial to keep himself in this matchup. He does have that ghost walk. Could use it for his aggressive purposes, and he's going to rocket jump forward. Finds him. Good first rail and good route to take. He's looking to try and go for this Mega. He's going to be in a better position. psygib now just on the chase here, and he's not going to pop that ghost walk to continue that aggression. Mega's up, mind you, but it looks like he's going to leave that for now. Is seeing if he can try and prioritize the kill, which sadly he can't. He's on the right path here, Ryan. He finds him. Oh, that was going to be... Oh, this will be a great frag for him if he has to clean this up, because he's not really taking too much damage. He's taking that last rail, but that's not too shabby at all. May have taken that first rail, but didn't take an additional one straight afterwards. Oh, you saw there was back on that back stairs of that heavy... But does able to stay alive, does manage to get away. He's still got the weapons in his arsenal. Looking to see if he can use this ghost walk to catch him. Might be able to, but he can use his rockets to the full effect. Gets the direct. But Quran's going to come out on top in that engagement.
A head shake there from psygib, and understandable. You know, he got the opening damage with that rocket. There were so many different ways that fight could have gone that really should have resulted in a frag there for psygib, but opting to go for the rail, the high risk nature of it, and unfortunately, actually, in doing so, that's now 2 more frags on the side of Ron. This comeback was being worked on step by step, but hang on a minute, these rails are starting to hit their mark. Going in for the LG, because Ron understands, I mean, there's no reason to go for rail when my opponent's that weak, and he catches him off the spawn as well. That is a difficult one to swallow, because now 5 frags behind. 2 minutes left to go on a map like this against someone who is at least going to get 2 more uses out of a piercing sight, which is either going to help for defensive play or even to just extend the lead. Can't even secure that frag as Xron fights back and takes yet another one. And it has given us a interesting development, because we have to look at Corrupted Keep. A one-sided affair for psygib. Xron going into the second map, a very different one that has much more emphasis on the rail that has been not too shabby on either side, but going to mean so much more to that medium champion that can just keep that light champion behind all the way through. Where now, Awoken, our final map, kind of a hybrid between them. You know, that final map, yes, it's going to be combat heavy, yes, it's going to be small, but at the same time, rail plays a heavy factor in some cases. So it has just opened up an entirely new discussion. You know, that final map's going to be the decider. It's 1 map apiece right now, but the question is, how's it going to go? Because psygib, He's been looking good in this map, but Xron has just been hitting some disgusting rails that he needs to just keep psygib behind. And with this final map looming over us just in really a minute or so. Exciting situation, Harry.
Yeah, it certainly is. Psygib is just gonna... Oh, I like that.
Cheeky.
Oh, the rocket as well, but Xron just finally takes him down in the end, Ryan. And yeah, you're right there. You know, this last map is going to be pretty damn crucial for both these players, especially for Xron as well. Of course, he hasn't got a series win as of yet. psygib has only got a couple of maps advantage over Xron in terms of the leaderboard standings anyway. psygib to finish him off with a machine gun. 10 seconds left, but you're right though. You know, both of them hit almost equally in terms of the rails. From what we saw there, the only difference was the fact that the rails that Xron was hitting was a lot more crucial. Good timings with the piercing sight as well, and just good preparation for the items and for the, of course, the circulation of the hourglasses as well. So it's funny that we've seen psygib demolish Xron in the first map, and we've seen a complete role reversal going into Ruins as well. But I'm happy for Xron anyway. He definitely needs this. Well, I say that they both need like a 3-0, but it looks like it's not going to be the case. And kind of what we could have expected as well, considering how much of a close affair and how close it's been for them. But maybe if Keep didn't slip in, we might be seeing maybe a 2-0. I'm not sure. But of course, we'll have to see how this last map goes on Awoken with with a very interesting matchup, German Champions Live. Of course, you know, seeing the Eisen was we have seen the Eisen on the odd occasion on Awoken, but we do normally see it towards the end of a best of 3 anyway, don't we?
We do, and in this position, you try not to get too hung up on maps, because at this point in Pro League, I mean, even with champions too, unless there's a few rare occasions with someone that has like a god tier clutch or something like that, players in the Pro League, they can play on every map, and most of them can play every single champion. So as the season progresses and as the years go by, you kind of stop leaning towards that point even more, because players just get so well rounded with the game that besides some basic layers of a champion matchup, the player versus player element does play, you know, quite a massive element. With these two though, it just feels like the maps and the styles of play that those maps allow is making quite a big difference, which is why Awoken for me is such a giant question mark. Corrupted Keep catered to every powerful strength that psygib has. Now, Ruins allowed Xron to be a little bit more tactical and a little bit less dependent almost on having to constantly fight and be close range and brawl almost. Now, Awoken is kind of a mixture of those, because it can be very, very positional, but at the same time, the rail can be a massive, massive part of the map, and Corrupted Keep nowhere near similar to that, and neither is Ruins. So we're going into this final map just thinking, how the hell is this going to go? And as we've said at the start of the show, there's a lot on the line with these two, purely because they're so similar on the leaderboards. You know, we talked about Strong Sage, and although Strong Sage is like technically lower down the leaderboards, it's just a simple matter of he hasn't played as much games. So his positioning there, you kind of just ignore it. Whereas Xron and psygib together have played quite a lot of their matches. The fact that this isn't even a 3-0 isn't great, because in this situation, when you're fighting someone that you're close to, you want that big injection of points. So this final map is going to have quite a lot riding on it. You know, you can't think about it, you can't let it bother you. These players have been around a fair long enough to know that, yeah, I ain't going to get nervous or anything. But
yeah,
it's quite an important map.
It is, and do you know what's funny? They haven't actually done each other any favours, because a 3-0 would have been lovely. Like, you know, you were saying that if it was a 3-0, they could have injected a lot of points.
But they both won it.
But yeah, exactly. And the fact that they've both actually done themselves in a little bit and at the bar is actually quite funny in itself. But do you know what? A map win here, a map win is going to be crucial for them anyway. And of course, a series win is going to be just as important if there is a tie in terms of like the seeding later on as well. But let's have a little bit of a gander here, Ryan, to see exactly who we're going to start with in this third and final map. It is going to be with Xron because, well, of course, considering how well we performed in that second map. But oh, straight away, a rocket going straight on in, a rail to boost straight onto it. That was a fabulous start coming out from psygib.
It was, and it all came down to that first rail hitting its mark. psygib only had a rail to work with because of his spawn. He made the most of it, and I gotta say, Xron went for a rather predictable route too. psygib, I was watching that from his point of view. He didn't really have to try to hit any shot that wasn't the first one, because everything else that Xron went to for the second and third shot was kind of a cookie cutter direction to take. Kind of surprising way to start things off. The distraction of the totem, or the turret, unfortunately not able to actually get as high up there as he wanted. I feel like psygib really wanted to get that turret next to Xron rather than just barely glancing it and then landing on the floor. But it has brought us to a 1-1. The return of psygib's rockets come out to play, but the return of Xron's rail to say, you know what, mate, I've had enough of that. Stop it.
Really is that enough. These defensive rockets are looking good. He almost skimmed off the map there. psygib does finish him up with the LG anyway. Mega's up in 7. And psygib is in a position, but the problem is he doesn't really want to contest, considering the stack he had just then. And of course, he would have to go through that choke point as well. So, in terms of pros and cons, not really a good idea. And psygib is, of course, not going to do that as of yet. Still needs to continue to recover, considering wasn't able to pick up everything around that rail area. But Xron is here to say hello and to try and contest this heavy from above there. But it's taken a 45 from Timmy there. Oh, good rocket as well, and the rail combo straight afterwards. That's going to definitely keep him in it to contest this Mega, but he needs to be careful not to tank too much damage as he approaches this. Good use of that turret as well as it bounces on up to get towards Xron there, but Xron just come out on top considering the position the stack he was in. It was a good position, but of course didn't have to stack, but still worked in his favour.
psygib does try and go for the almost forbidden fruit there of a freshly dropped LG. Took a bit of bonus damage in the meantime. A nice saving grace for psygib, knowing that the heavy was there to fall back on. An aggressive push is being made. psygib waiting just long enough to know that that teleporter exit is going to be a safe one. Mega's going to be this next objective. Xron, without any armor, not that it really matters here, because with so much health, psygib's still going to have to be kind of cautious to push forward the way he wanted to. And a nice even game. Someone going to take this lead and maybe start running away with it. I guess time will tell. Xron did so much damage in that fight. It will be psygib that takes it. Can he at least take away this heavy? Yes, he can. Might go down. No! Gets the perfect point blank and a die hard. 1 HP remaining. That's a heartbreaker, and that's the kind of frag that you never want to concede. You're so close yet so far. These rockets have been magical for psygib. Pushing up on that jump pad, Xron knows I have to do something here. I need to get these weapons back. I can probably get a frag here, so I'm gonna dedicate. Fortunately for Xron, able to take just that. Only 1 frag separates these two now, but with rockets like that, before Xron's even able to fire a single shot, it's only gonna be good for psygib at the moment. He has enough stack to push forward now and bully. He has all the weapons that he needs. Opening rail. They trade a shot for a shot. And that is not what Xron needed, because he is significantly weaker. And unfortunately there, psygib did land on the turret, or the totem, but doesn't mean anything.
Oh, Timmy's been has been a little bit of a nuisance from time to time, as psygib has positioned him extremely well. Been awkwardly on the stairs. Timmy's been at trampoline park on that mega jump up for like a good 20 seconds or something.
He's having a great time, mate. He's having a great time.
He has been, and he's been quite efficient at the same time. So he's working hard and playing hard. We'll see if he continues that. Heavy is up in 5 though, as of course psygib was going to be in prime position to bag this, but it's gone a bit pear-shaped here, Ryan, and is able to take that, picks up the light, and can go straight for this heavy and has the information he needs. As psygib has got there, of course, way too late. LG battle comes up, but may favour psygib here. Yes, it does.
Question is, though, is psygib going to be able to take this mega? I don't think so, because Xron spawns in a far more favourable position. So even though psygib secured this frag, he's kind of the one that's having to be cautious here. Get himself back up to a nice regular stack. Still doesn't have a rail, and actually Xron is just where he's able to go on the map. Xron picks up a frag then and takes it 5-5. This is right down the middle as it's split. With the items in play, Heavy's the next one. Whoa, psygib picks up that 1 light health bubble, which is certainly going to help him if he gets hit by another rail. But the Mega is the next item to play here. That rail's good, but it's not enough to stop the Mega from being picked up, and in this case, psygib's been able to get himself a rail to fight back with.
Again, these turrets have been, the placements have been extremely well. Like, you wouldn't expect, like, dropping down one to be around nail or sometimes on the stairs towards top, mid, near rockets as well. It's just done a good job so far. Oh, good rockets again coming out from psygib. And good first rail on the spawn, and actually takes him out on the map, so that's going to be extremely beneficial for him, considering how close the scoreline has been over the course of the last 6 minutes, but still looking for some armor.
That was a really bad time for me to have a sip of coffee. I almost spilled it on myself.
It happens.
But getting ring outs like that in this kind of situation just don't feel good. Because there's 4 minutes left to go, you're currently behind. That kind of frag going that way is almost like a bonus one for your opponent who is already ahead. You have no choice but to just roll with the punches and move on, but as psygib was currently positioned, really just set up shop near rail rim. Because the importance of that opening rail damage is just so noticeable that keep it away. And keep your opponent away from that vital tool that they really need to contest damage at the distances that psygib is forcing Xron to take. Okay, a little bit of tri-bolt. It's a really good start. And actually, psygib, hang on, decides that he wanted to shut down the heavy from being taken by Xron, but it almost felt like a ambush of sorts, because the moment he did, Xron had him right where he wanted him.
Xron in a good position. Great LG. They're going to catch him in the machine gun if he can. He can't, but managed to grab that mega to continue this aggression. Of course, Timmy being an absolute nuisance once again, rotating back around. Too late for the heavy, but it can maybe inflict some damage here. That's that totem again, extremely important. I haven't really seen much of an overstack as of yet. Might see it in time, may see a sudden death. We'll see. What a way to fly on him with the LG as well. A little bit worried about that weapon selection, but LG pushes him into that choke point. Great stuff from Xron there. 2.5 minutes left. Picks up the mega. Has the light available for him as well. Great stack to get back into. Just over a couple of minutes left here, Ryan, and psygib needs to try and figure out a way to try and tie this back up.
And psygib hasn't looked bad by any stretch, but Xron, in the process of running away with this one, some really lovely rail shots. Actually, that one, of course, commentator's curse. The moment you compliment a rail, the next one always misses, guaranteed. But, an opportunity maybe for vengeance there. Either way, 2 minutes left to go now. Xron, the combo kill, the plasma combined in there with the rail, love to see it. And now the pressure is on for psygib. If he wants to get the victory here, he's got to make something happen, and he kind of has to make it happen right now. Those rockets certainly starting him off strong. Xron is out of LG ammo, has to resort to the rail, of which he does hit a bit. And the shotgun so close to trading a frag. Not going to be able to do it. Now, Xron, unfortunately there, you wouldn't have seen it. He took tons of damage trying to shoot that turret, and it has done enough that gave psygib, I think, a bit more of a comfortable situation. Oh, no, the information from the turret saying, right, I'm going to turn around and hit this rail, mate. I don't know how those last two frags have happened. They've just kind of come out of nowhere. But it's exactly what psygib needs. Xron still railable even now, 89 HP, only just been able to pick up a light bubble. So now, railable no longer. But with 1 minute left to go, psygib now only needs 2 frags. We said he needs to make something happen right here, right now. And he's halfway there.
Yeah, psygib, of course, weak in terms of stack, hasn't got an LG, running out of rail ammo as well, but does have the timings of the megas, so he can continue to pursue this as he sees fit. If he's up in 20, does finally pick up the LG and nicks for lights as well. So he has a
traded weapon for weapon there. Xron picked up the rail at the same time. Is it going to be a rather potentially explosive 30 seconds? Xron, I mean, there's no mega there, but there are plenty of light health bubbles to bring in that stack. 20 seconds left, 2 frags. psygib has to find him, and he has. Now, he does take a lot of damage in return, though. That is a bit unfortunate, because now 10 seconds, psygib doesn't have time. Did not have time to pick up any substantial pickups, and Xron with an LG is all he's got to work with, but he can hide for the remaining 5 seconds, and that will be a GG right there. A close exchange, but one that Xron can steal away at the last possible second. And with 2 players so close on the leaderboards, that went as close as many people probably thought it would.
I'm gonna, definitely have to agree with that as well. Like, he made the turret a lot more effective than I think a lot of us probably even anticipated. Not just for reading in terms of information, but did a lot of damage. Like, even doing that 90 damage on the LG spawn for poor Quran, and then of course him going top mid to pick up the Mega, and it was so weak from the previous engagement with Timmy, but he managed to rail him, was able to keep him in that matchup and to be able to try and pursue something. You can see around that 9-minute mark, you can see that psygib was trying to slow things down quite a bit from a methodical process, because he kind of felt like, well, at this stage, there could be a chance that Quran might be playing quite defensive, might have that posture in place just to set him up defensively, but wanted to try and catch him maybe with his back turn or try and circulate around him. But in the end, psygib did his best, but Quran come up with that one frag lead in the end. It didn't look that way. psygib had a great start overall, but managed to turn things around incredibly, and you can see with the rail accuracy there, 50% to the 43% from Quran. And I think this is kind of what we expected from these two. They're both very desperate to try and get themselves further up on a leaderboard, and it gets their matches up with some of the other players, of course, at the lower ends. Every map's going to matter here, and seeding is going to, of course, be very important, because if you have an extremely low seed in the top 16 here in the Quake Pro League, you may be playing against one of the top seeds coming in from challenges, because we know that we've already had 3 players coming in from challenges already, and it's going to be very tough in itself. You know, players like Garpy and obviously Buxter, etc. You know, just to add a couple of names there to the tally, who's already been able to qualify. And of course, you know, if you guys aren't involved, we've still got another global qualification process left to go, and of course we've got the regional qualifiers straight afterwards, so make sure you stay tuned for those as well. But yeah, this is a problem. You see, you want to try and make sure you have the highest seed possible, so you play against the lower seeded players coming from the challenges. But I say that, but all the players in the challenges are pretty hot right now in terms of how they've been performing, and it's you know, we've still got a lot more players left to try and qualify. We know that the fact we've got, like, you know, CNZ, Bucks, the Garpy still, but we've still got all the others. You know, you've got like the likes of RMV, Celts, Sparty still left in there looking to try and qualify. So many names, which is looking forward to seeing who's going to be able to qualify there.
It's the exciting thing about games being, you know, many years underway. Quake Champions has been out now in the competitive space longer than some people probably realize. You know, I know that the last few years have kind of just sort of melted into one for many of us, myself included. But with people playing this game for as long as they have, even the challenger bracket is one that is full of complete killers, and those that could very much so make their own way into a Pro League finals. So you're in a position now where you can't sleep on anyone. No one can be counted out, and that's the most exciting time for a game to have in its competitive lifespan. And I do feel for psygib, because you could see it in his face, very, very disappointed with how close it was and how it could have genuinely gone either way. As generic as that sounds, it was right down to the wire, one frag in it, final map. How close can you really get it, you know, besides an overtime or something? But either way, that's our 3rd series of the day done and dusted. We're now going to set up for our 4th. Thank you so much for joining us so far, but in a few minutes' time, we'll be back with more Quake Champions.